We're on Sadi, right at the top. So 4 lines from the top of Daf Sadi Amid Al. Now, unfortunately, yesterday I think we just kind of stopped rather abruptly, like smack in the middle of the sugya. But we were talking about the sugya of kinyan peiros, kinyan aguftami, or lat peiros aguftami. And in that sugya, we brought up this idea of the takanas usha. So what's the takanas usha? So this is this idea that if a woman has, let's say milog, right, meaning there's certain property that a woman brings into the marriage, she owns the guf of the property, the keren, the husband has the right of all the peiros of the property during the marriage, right? What happens if she sells the property during her marriage and then she dies? So she predeceases the husband. The takanas usha was that the husband has certain rights in this property, and he could be motzi the property from the lekufos after she dies. That was the takanas usha that we talked about yesterday. And at the end of yesterday's blot, the Gemara suggested that perhaps this whole idea of takanas usha is subject to machlokas tanaim. We had conflicting brisas. The brisas were really dealing with if you have, I think, avdei milog, right? So you know the halach with an eved kanani is that if someone owns an eved kanani and he, knocks out his tooth or whatever it is, the eved kanani is yotzei b'shem da'ayin. The question is, if you have avdei milug, we have one brisa that says that stafka, if a woman knocks out the guy's tooth, that's where he goes free. And we had another brisa that said that regard the woman or the man, neither one of them are subject to this halacha, seemingly because neither one of them owns the eved 100%. And the Gemara wanted to suggest that the machlokas tanaim would have been this takanas usha or not. And we had a few answers, and we'll pick it up 4 lines from the top of Daf Tzadi Amid Aleph. Another answer to say that these conflicting brisas are not takanas usha, right? So device ema dukuliyama less lulani tonight takanas usha. Really, both brisas are of the opinion neither of them hold of the takanas usha. Well, if neither of them hold of the takanas usha, what we said yesterday in terms of the machlokas of kinyan peiros to kinyan aguf or la to kinyan aguf, we generally paskin like Reish Lakish that kinyan peiros are lav to peiros aguf. Therefore, just working backwards, if the woman owns the eved and the husband only has kinyan peiros, if you hold kinyan peiros as lav to kinyan aguf, then this eved should really be completely in the control of the woman, and therefore the brisa that suggests that the eved is yotzi b'shem da'ayin if the woman knocks out the tooth, that would make sense. But how do you understand the other brisa that says neither the wife nor the husband can let this guy go free by knocking out his tooth?
This is the wife's eved.
It's avdei milog. So it's an eved that the wife brought into the marriage as nichsei milog.
So the husband gets to
use the eved. Yeah. Right. So how do you understand the brisa that says that neither the wife nor the husband, if you knock out this guy's tooth, he goes free? But the Gemara says we were taking for granted that we paskined that peiros, that kinyan peiros is lav kinyan aguf. V'hacha but kinyan peiros kinyan aguf dami kibifgi. In fact, I'll tell you that really the difference between these brisas is whether you hold kinyan peiros is kinyan aguf or not. Uva plukta dahani tanai, and we have precedent for this machlokas. You have a different machlokas tanaim de Tanya. Hamocher. So again, in this next brisa, the halacha that we need to understand is there's a special, another unique halacha when it comes to an eved kanani. An eved kanani is a Jew, right? At least the miktsas, and therefore, if you kill an eved kanani, you're chayiv misa, right? He's not like a non-Jew. Having said that, there's a unique leniency in the halachas of eved kanani that says that if you own your eved kanani and you kill your eved kanani and he survives for a period, no, thank you. The pasuk says, "Ach im yom o yomayim yamod," right? Lo yukam ki kaspahu. So if you injure your own eved kanani and he survives for yom o yomayim, which means a 24-hour period, special leniency, you're not chayiv misa. Normally, if you injure someone and he dies 3 days later, you're still chayiv misa, right? As long as he died because of your, because of what you did. But if it's an eved kanani, that's not the halacha. But you have to own the eved kanani. If you injure someone else's eved kanani, then you're not subject to this kula, right? It's not if it's your own. The pasuk says ki kaspohu, if it's your eved kanani. So again, on that note, the brisa says like this: Hamocher avdo la'acher upasakim al menashiyam sheyish meshenu shloshim yom. Let's say I sell someone else my eved kanani, But in the contract, I say I want to use this Eved Kanani for 30 days. So I'm selling it to you today, but for the next 30 days, I have certain rights that I'm retaining in this Eved Kanani. So Rav Meir Omer Rishon Yeshno B'Din Yomo Yomayim. As far as this, who has the Din Yomo Yomayim, who has the special leniency? It's the first guy, it's the seller, because he still maintains certain rights for the next 30 days. Therefore, if he injures this Eved Kanani and the Eved Kanani survives, for a day or two, whatever it is, the first guy is not going to be chayiv misa. But meishu tachtav kisavar kinyan peiros kinyan aguftami. So Rav Meir clearly holds that the kinyan peiros that the mocher left with himself is kinyan aguf, and therefore the mocher has this right of yomo yomayim. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Sheni Yeshno B'Din Yomo Yomayim. No, it's the rightful owner. It's the buyer. He's the guy that owns the eved. Who kaspo. He granted the first guy retains certain rights, but the second guy really owns the eved. Kisavar kinyan peiros. Lav kinyan aguftami. So Rabbi Yehuda clearly holds kinyan peiros is lav kinyan aguftami. So this is our precedent that whether you hold kinyan peiros is kinyan aguftami or not is subject to a machlokas tanaim.
Because the second owner injured, then killed during those 30 days.
During the 30 days,
So the first
yeah.
guy still had it.
While he had rights. Rabbi Yossi Omer Shnehem Yeshna B'Din Yomo Yomayim. Rabbi Yossi says he has a whole third shita. He says during this 30 days, either one of them has the kula of Yomo Yomayim. The first one because he has certain rights, and the second one because he owns him. So how does he understand kinyan peiros kinyan aguf or not? So he says Mesaf Galei kinyan peiros kinyan aguf dami yolo. He just had a suffix or lav kinyan aguf dami. The suffix nefashos lahakal. So therefore, when it comes to the suffix nefashos of killing the murderer, we're always going to go kula. And Rabbi Eliezer, he went the opposite way. By the way, the gears I think is supposed to be Rabbi Lazar, the Rashash says. So we'll just go with Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar Omer Shnehem Einon B'Din Yomo Yomayim. Neither one of them have the kula of Yomo Yomayim. Zelafisha Eino Taftav, the second guy, because he's not working for him yet. And Zelafisha Eino Kaspo. And as far as the first guy's concerned, because it's not his kasef. So Amar Rava, my time with Rabbi Lazar. How do you understand Rabbi Lazar? Amar Kra, ki kaspo. Who? Kaspo am yuchalog. And the pasuk says kaspo. You need to own 100%. It's not enough that you only have the right to use the eved. It's not enough that you only own the eved 30 days from now. You have to own the full eved. So the Gemara says, "Come on, Azla Hadamar Ameimar." So who says this that a Meimar said Ish the Isha Shemacharu b'nichse milug lo asu below klum. This is a fascinating halacha, right? We said nichse milug, right? The relationship between the husband and the wife. The wife owns the karen, she owns the guf, but the husband has the hishtamshus. He has all the peiros, right? So this halacha that Ameimar said is if you have a man and a wife that they collectively sell their nechse milug. So Rashi makes it very clear. So you would think they sold 100%. This one sells what he owns, this one sells what she owns, right? But still, lo asu below klum. Rashi says if either the husband or the wife die, the other one can take it away from the lekuchos. So who says this? Come on, Rebbe Lazar. This seems like it's like this Rebbe Lazar, that because neither one of them has 100% of the rights, they can't really. Neither one of them is the proper owner. Rashi speaks out that, of course, don't take from this that a regular partnership can't collectively sell their rights. So Rashi speaks out that, of course, if one person owns 50% of this business and the other one owns the other 50%, of course they can collectively sell to a third person. And Rashi speaks out. It's hard. I don't understand it. But if you just want to see this Rashi, lo asu below klum, the way Rashi speaks it out is in a regular partnership, one person owns 50% of the whole, and the other person owns 50% of the whole. And therefore, so long as you have both halves, you can sell 100%. But when it comes to nichse milug, it's a different way of looking at it. It's this one owns 100% of half, and the other one owns 100% of half. And for some reason, you can't combine those two to fully, like neither one can fully sell the thing. And therefore, when it comes to nichse milug, again, both the husband and the wife have the right to take it away from a future lokaf. Again, it's kind of a hard svara, but that's at least how a Meimar holds. And one last Gemara for the Mishnah. Man tan la tan rabbanan misha chetyav eved v'chetyav ben chorin. So if you have the infamous chetyav eved chetyav ben chorin, maybe you have an eved that had the reshutbin, and then one of them freed the other, the slave. V'chein eved shal shtei shutbin, or if you have an eved that belongs to two people, ein yotzin b'rashay barim. So that again, this eved can never go free if someone knocks out his tooth. Yotzin b'rashay barim she'en chosrin. Amalei Rav Mordechai. So who says this? So Amalei Rav Mordechai, the Rav Ashi, Hachan Rav Shneid Rav Lazar. It's the same Rav Lazar because Milo Amar Rav Lazar Kaspo Hamiyuchalo. The same way by the halach of Yom Yomayim, he said you need to fully own the eved. So Hachanami Avdo Hamiyuchalo. The concept of Shem Ba'ayin is only going to apply to someone who owns 100% of this eved. Okay, so we're going to move on. The very first Mishnah.
This case where the man and the woman have this same balloon together.
Yeah.
Presumably, because he's called Nick St. Balloon, she brought the Evan into the marriage.
Or she inherited it in the middle of the marriage, but either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, he was fully owned by the wife.
Yeah.
So she may have so she sold half of her Nick St. Balloon rights to the husband.
No, I think it's just the way it works sometimes, right? Let's assume it was brought into the marriage, right? There's different arrangements that you can make with a husband at the time of the marriage.
Called Nick St. Balloon, so
yeah,
it had to be something that she brought into the marriage.
Yeah, or something that she got in the middle of the marriage, but
okay, right.
But the point is, right? It depends how it's worked out in the ksuba, right? You can have what's known as nichse tzon barzel, right, or avdei tzon barzel, where the husband basically says, "We're going to agree that this eved is worth X amount, and then if we ever get divorced, I'm going to pay you that amount. I'm going to keep the eved." But that's not the way they worked it out. This is avdei milug, and therefore it's the wife's. And when the marriage ends, the wife has 100% ownership of the eved. During the marriage, the husband has the right to use this eved.
Wait.
Let's move on. This last case was not even dealing with an eved; it was dealing with Sadek. Neither one of them being able to sell it, so it's a Gemara and Baba Basra. It's not even an eved. But either way, the first Mishnah of Parak HaChovel, the very last line of the very first Mishnah, dealt with Boshes, and it said right Hakol Lafi HaMevayish HaMisbayish. Right, and the second Mishnah talked about different examples. We're going to pick up on that note. So atokea lechavero. Let's say someone, Rashi is suited from Shatim, whether you hit him in the ear or you like literally blew a shofar into some guy's ear. Either way, nos and lo sella. The amount of the boshes is a sella. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishum Rosi Aglili, mana. He disagrees. A mana is a lot more than a sella. He says that's the amount. You got to pay a mana. Citra, let's say you slap someone across the face. No say lo Messiahim zuz. And again, we are focusing on the boshes element, not the nezek, not the tsar. From the boshes perspective, slapping someone across the face, that is worth 200 zuz. La'achar yada, you slap him, backhand or whatever, a backhanded slap, that I guess is more embarrassing. No say lo arba meo zuz. So it's 400 zuz. Saran ba'azno, I think that means you pull on someone's ear, or talash basaro, you pull his hair. Rakak v'gia baroko, you spit on someone, and the spit lands. Hever taleso, you kind of remove someone's clothing mimenu, his cloak. Para rosha isha, bashuk. Let's say you uncover a woman's hair, right in the shuk. Nosan la arameos zuz. You have to pay her, from a boshes perspective, 400 zuz. Dea klal. Bottom line, this is the klal. Hakol lefi kvoda. It all depends on the covet of the person. Now, again, the Gemara is going to ask, not today, but some other day. Aren't we just blatant contradiction? We just had a whole price list, and I understand Hakol lefi kvoda. So again, the Gemara is going to deal with it. Amar Rabbi Akiva, filu aniyim shabi Yisrael. Notwithstanding, the Tanakh said Hakol lefi kvoda. Rabbi Akiva said even aniyim shabi Yisrael. Roam some ki'iluhem b'nei chorin sheyardu m'nechsem shehem b'nei Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Right. So we actually saw this very similar machlokas in earlier sugis in Parak HaChovel of, again, how do you view the person? Do you look at every single person in their own individual, socioeconomic status? Or do you say we kind of view everyone kind of similar? And Rabbi Akiva takes the latter approach, arguing on the Tanakh. Okay, story time. There once was a man, and he uncovered a lady's hair in the shuk. So Basa there, Rabbi Akiva. So he said, you got to owe 400 zuz. That's like we said in the Mishnah. So Amar Lo, Rebbe, so this perpetrator, he said, Rebbe, Tain Lizman. He said, give me a little bit of time to get the money. But Nasan Lozman, he said, sure. Gave him some time. Shamra, so he kind of waited a bit to plot his next move. And Omeres al Pesach Tzera, so he waited by the Pesach of her Chatzar. Meshiberes Akad B'Fanea, Ubo Ke'isr Shemen. So he broke some sort of vessel that had shemen inside of it. And now she didn't want to let the shemen go to waste. So Gilsa es Rosha, so she uncovered her hair. So she took the shemen, and she didn't want to let the oil go to waste. So she uncovered her hair and she put some of the oil on her head. I guess it does good stuff for your hair. What's the point? The guy totally set her up. He said, here you are bringing me to court because I embarrassed you because I uncovered your hair and you want 400 zuz. You're willing to uncover your hair for a little bit of oil, right? Clearly, you weren't all that embarrassed by the fact that I uncovered your hair. That was kind of the point. So Hamid Adim, he had this whole thing set up. He had Adam over there to testify on his behalf. Rabbi Akiva, and he comes to Rabbi Akiva with his claim. He says, I don't want to pay her. Clearly, she's not all that much embarrassed. But Amar Lei, but Rabbi Akiva said back to this man, Amar Lei said to Rabbi Akiva, Lezuani knows in Dalam Yozuz, right? To this woman, I have to pay Dalam Yozuz. She did it to herself. Amar Lei, Lo Amar Klom. Your taina is meaningless because when someone does it to himself, in a rashai, pater. Maybe even if you'll tell me that he's not allowed to do it, you're still going to be pater. But if someone else damages him, the other person is chayav. Another example of kotes and tiyosaf, or if someone cuts down his own plantings, in a rashai, maybe you're not allowed to do it. Rashi says maybe it's like baltashchis or something like that, but you're not allowed to do it. But still pater. You're still pater, right? It's your own stuff. But acherim chayav, if someone else cuts down your plantings, they are going to be chayav. So a lot happened in this Mishnah, but the Mishnah opened. The Gemara is going to open on a very technical note. The Mishnah said if you hurt someone in his ear, you're chayav maybe a sela or a mana. But focusing on the mana, there was different types of currencies. So the Gemara starts ibaylahu mana tsuri tanan or mana medina tan. Rabbi Yossi Aglili said you're chayav a mana. What type of currency? And for whatever it's worth, the mana medina is worth an eighth of a mana tsuri. So it's kind of like saying, US dollars or Canadian dollars, like that kind of thing. We're saying the dollar, but which dollar, which mana? And again, there is a big nafkamina because one is much more valuable than the other. So Tashma, Yahu Gavra, there once was a person who damaged his friend. He hit his ear or he blew a shofar in his ear, whatever the thing was. Asa Kamed Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. They came before Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, who by the way is not Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. I think it's like his grandson. So they come before Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya and Amar Lei Ha'ana Ha Rabbi Yossi Aglili Havla Manatsuri. So a funny lashon. He says Ha'ana Ha Rabbi Yossi Aglili, but bottom line he says give him a Manatsuri. So that answers the question. Shmamina Manatsuri Tanan Shmamina. So that certainly answers the question that we're dealing with the more valuable mana, not the less valuable mana. But the Gemara says, "My ha'ana ha'Rabbi Yossi Aglili." What does that even mean? Right? So Rabbi Yossi Aglili was the Tana in the Brisa that said you pay a mana. But what is even this language of ha'ana and ha'Rabbi Yossi Aglili? So the Gemara says, maybe this is what he means to say. Ha'ana d'chazisich, I witnessed you damage your friend. But ha'Rabbi Yossi Aglili. The Amar Manatsuri, and it's Rabbi Yossi Haglili in the Mishnah that said you owe a Manatsuri. So therefore, Zil Havle Manatsuri. So therefore, give him a Manatsuri. The problem is Lememra. This suggests the Eid Nasa Dayan. This suggests that Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya is saying I witnessed the damage, and therefore I am saying you owe a Manatsuri. But that suggests that Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya is the Eid, and he can also be the Dayan. But we know that it's not the case, right? Tanya, you have a brisa that says. Sanhedrin sharo echad sharakas hanefesh. If you have a Sanhedrin who witnessed a murder, so miktsasa nasu edim, umiktsasa nasu dayanim. Divrei Tarfon. So Tarfon says you can never play both hats. You can never wear both hats. So half of the Sanhedrin or enough of the Sanhedrin, they have to basically say we were not the edim. We're going to be the dayanim, and the other ones will testify to dayanim. Rabbi Kiva Omer no Kula made him. Rabbi Kiva is much more machmer. He says, no, all of them, if they witnessed it, they are all Adim, and you got to find a different Sanhedrin. You got to find other Dayanim. But again, you can never wear both hats. The Ein Eid Nasa Dayan. But the Gemara says, Ad Kam Lakam Rav Tarfon. Even Rav Tarfon, who says that some of the Sanhedrin can be the Adim and some of them could be the Dayanim, he only says that Ela de Miktsasa Nasu Adim and Miktsasa Nasu Dayanim. Aval Eid Nasa Dayan Lo Kamar. Even Rav Tarfon didn't say that either one of them individually can be both an aid and a dayan. He's just saying that the fact that you were an aid doesn't necessarily disqualify you from being a dayan in this case, assuming someone else is going to be the aid. But over here, how could Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya say, I witnessed the crime, and I'm positing the Shiloh in this case. How could you? Isn't he conflicted? Isn't he an aid? And if he's an aid, then he should sit this one out. So the Gemara says, maybe not. Pitanya, he could go into Ro Balayla, Delo Lemevadina Minhu. So the Gemara gives a bit of an interesting answer, and it's a real nuance in this halacha Reb Tarfon. Reb Tarfon basically said, right, in the case of the Sanhedrin that saw the murder, he said some of them need to kind of sit this one out, right? The only reason why Reb Tarfon said that was because that crime that happened, the person killing someone, that happened not in front at a time when they couldn't adjudicate this case. So the example the Gemara gives is maybe it happened at night, right? You don't have a case at night. Or it very well could have been that it didn't happen, in front of a court or something like that. But what's the point? The point is, even though they witnessed the crime, they were going to have to come into court and someone was going to have to verbally testify. If someone has to verbally testify, then you can't be the person that testifies and the dying. But let's say this crime happened literally in front of a bench of judges in the daylight, right? And they saw the crime, so they don't need Adam to come in and verbally testify. The same way that they saw what happened. There's no reason that Adam would be any better than their own eyesight. So if it happened during the day and you don't need verbal testimony, so they, of course, they could be the Adam and they can be the Dayanim. You don't need real Eidos in that case. They can be the Adam. It's Reb Tarfon's case was where the crime happened at night, so they couldn't have the court case right away, or maybe it just happened away from the court, whatever it was, and therefore you were going to need someone to come into court to testify. You can't, that's what Reb Tarfon said, the Dayanim can't also be the Adam. But in this case of Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, he saw the crime, and he said, he can pass in the Shaila, right? And he said, I saw the crime right now, and I can tell you, you owe the money. So that's really what the Gemara is saying. Reb Tarfon, even though he says, Ein Eid Nasa Dayan, that's dafka where you need a separate testimony. But where you don't need a separate testimony, he would agree that Eid Nasa Dayan, and that's what Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya is saying. Bibaya Sema, another approach could be, Hachi Kamarle. He said, we don't have to be all this complicated. All Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya was saying was, Ha'ana, this Birole, Rabbi Yossi HaGalili. I happen to hold, like Rabbi Yossi HaGalili, the Amar Manatsuri, and that's why I'm saying you owe Manatsuri. V'hasahadi, the Mishadibach. And but I'm not the aid. We have other agents that are coming in, and they're saying that you hit someone. All Ha'ana Rabbi Yossi HaGalili is saying much less dramatic. All he's saying is, I talk like Rabbi Yossi HaGalili, who says Manatsuri. So therefore, it's Zilhavle Manatsuri. Okay. But now we brought in this other brisa, and the other brisa was very clear that Rabbi Akiva does not hold he holds, Ein Eid Nasa Dayan. Meaning Rabbi Akiva said that in this case where Sanhedrin witnessed a murder, anyone who was witness to the murder cannot be a dayan. We have to bring other dayanim involved. So the Gemara is going to now ask on that, a bit of a digression. The Sava Rabbi Akiva, the Ein Eid Nasa Dayan, is it really true that Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion that Ein Eid Nasa Dayan? Tanya, we have a brisa, and the brisa is like this: V'hika ish esrei be'even o be'agrof. Right, so a person damages someone, and the pasuk says using an even, like a murder weapon, right? O be'agrof, or with his fist. Shimon HaTeimani, Omer of Shimon HaTeimani, he learns from this halacha. Omer, he says, Ma agrof miyuchat shemas le'edim le'edim, just like a person's fist, right? You're going to obviously bring it into court, right? And the edim are going to be able to inspect. Well, the edim saw the fist, but the dayanim can inspect the fist, and they can say, can this fist have done that damage, right? So so to any murder weapon or any weapon at all, right? If you're going to say that this damage occurred with this weapon, you need to bring that weapon into Bezdin so that the dayanim can inspect the weapon, right? And to exclude, right? Prad, let's say the weapon's no longer here, right? We lost it. If we lose the weapon and the court can't inspect, they can't insert it into evidence, right? Then the guy would go free, right? That's this, this drasha of egrof and evid. The same way a fist is always going to be in Bezdin because it's tied to the guy's body, and the guy's going to be in Bezdin, right? So too, the murder weapon always needs to be present in Bezdin. The court has to have the ability to inspect the weapon. Rabbi Akiva responded. He said, Bezdin hiko? What are you talking about? Did this all happen in front of Bezdin? Sheyodin kami hiko, ba'alma hiko, imal shoko, or tzipor nafsho. Rabbi Akiva is getting a little dramatic, but he's saying, I don't understand. We trust the Adim, right? None of this happened in front of the court. The judges, they didn't see the crime, right? They didn't see where he was hurt, whether he was hurt on his kicked in the leg or he was stabbed in the heart, right? They're trusting the Adim. So the same way they're trusting the Adim to know what happened, trust the Adim that there was a murder weapon. If the murder weapon's gone, so it's gone. But the Adim saw it, and we're trusting the Adim. Rabbi Akiva just goes on a little bit. So he gets a little dramatic. But let's say this guy pushed someone off a building, so a roof or a building, right? Do we force Bezin to go to the building and kind of look at it over there? Oh, bira holecha seitzel bezin. Are we going to bring the building into Bezin? Right? Of course not. The he just keeps going. Im nafla. Let's say the building's no longer here; it was destroyed. Choser ubona. Are we gonna reconstruct the building? Right? Of course not. What's the point? Ella ma egrof miyuchad ju master le'edim afkol shu master le'edim. The drush is a little bit different. It's just like a fist. The Adim had to witness the fist. So too, the Adim had to witness the murder weapon. To the exclusion of, let's say the Adim saw someone get hurt, but they didn't actually see the weapon. If you didn't see the weapon, then the guy's gonna go free. And that, I guess, makes a little bit more sense, right? It's not so much that we need the weapon now to bring it into court. Court can trust the Adim, but the Adim at least needed to see the weapon. What's the point of all of this? This is a long-winded way of getting to our question, which is clearly Ktani Miyad in Rabbi Akiva's lengthy, dramatic response. He said, Amar Rabbi Akiva, Nei Bezdani Ko, Sheyodin Kami Ko, right? Sounds like, did this crime happen right in front of Bezdin so they know exactly what happened from their own eyes? What's the implication? Hay Ko Bifneim, had it did happen that way, a Nasadain, they would still be able to judge this case. What's the point? The point is Rabbi Akiva, earlier we said, we had a brisa that seemed to be very clear that Rabbi Akiva was of the opinion, Ein Eid Nasadain, meaning if a crime happened in front of the entire Sanhedrin, they would all be disqualified. They would be Eidim, they couldn't judge the case. But from this response to Shimon HaTaimani, it sounds very much like he's saying, had this crime happened in front of Bezdin, then they'd be able to, they would be able to testify, or be the dying, sorry. So the Gemara says, a simple answer, Litzvara, Shimon HaTaimani, Kamar, Velelos Virulate. Rabbi Akiva was just arguing with Shimon HaTaimani, he was just trying to make his point. He's trying to say that even you who hold Eid Nasadain, is this what you think needs to happen? Me, I don't even hold Eid Nasadain. So I don't hold any of this. But he's just saying, even I'll leave it to you, at least agree to me that the drush that you're making has a kasha on it. Okay, so in this Eben Obed growth, we have a bit of a digression for this last Gemara. So very Baba Kami, because dealing with Shartams and Sharmuads, but as we'll see, it has really nothing to do with what we were talking about outside of, we use this drasha of Eben Obed growth. Tana Rabbanan, Shartam, let's say you have a Shartam, Shehemis Vehizik. So it killed a person, it also happened to do damage, right? We know one of the halachas of a Shartam is it pays me gufo, right? So Danar Nosov Din Nefashos, the Ein Danar Nosov Din Mamanas. Even a Shartam that kills someone, you put the shar to death, and therefore you're not going to have to pay the Din Mamanas. This has nothing to do with Kimle B'Dravim. It sounds like it. Like if you're putting the shar to death, you also don't pay the money. Kimle B'Dravim is halacha by people, not by shars. So why, in this case, the shar is chayiv misa? Are you also not chayiv the mammon? It's because we said a shar tam pays me gufo. Once this thing is chayiv misa, it no longer has any value, and therefore you don't pay the mammonis. Okay. So the Gemara. So in contrast to shar tam, the Gemara says muad shehemis. If you have a shar muad that kills a person, vehizik, and it also damages. Danar also din mammonis. You first do the dine mamanis, because again, the owner pays min aliyah, so he's not limited to the value of the shar, so he pays the damage. The chosrin, and then you do the dine nefashos, and you murder the shar. Kadmu v'danu dine nefashos. Let's say you just messed up the order, and you first did the dine nefashos on the shar. Ein chosrin v'danu dine mamanis. So the order matters. If you do the dine mamanis first, then the owner will pay the money min aliyah, and then you kill the shar. If you first did the court case, the capital court case on the shar, and you kill the shar, now the owner is not going to be chayiv the mammon anymore. The Gemara says, how do you even make sense of this? My hobby, the fact that you first did dina nefashos, who cares? Right? So then after you kill the shar, just do the court case for mammon. And again, the owner is paying min aliyah. You don't need the shar. right? So why do we care which one we did first? So Amar Rava, Ashkachtinu l'Rabbanan de Rav. I found the Rabbanan de Rav, Yasu the Kamri, they were handling the Shaila, right? They were learning. And they said, Hamani, Reb Shimon HaTeimani. The reason why the order matters is because this is Shimon HaTeimani. To Amar Ma Egrof Miyuchad Shemasr LeEdo LeEdim Alma Be'inan Umdana Beitina. Became in the Gmardina Lektala Lomashina Le Umdana Beitina Below Maininan Ledine. He holds of this halacha, right? Just like the fist is in Bezdin, we need the murder weapon to be in Bezdin, meaning we need the shar to be in Bezdin. And once there was a Gemar Din to kill the shar, we kill the shar right away. We're not going to hang around another few weeks to do this whole trial of the Nizakin. And again, I think the Mefarshim speak out, right? This isn't, when it comes to a person, when there's a Gemar Din, we kill him right away, right? And it's the same idea with a shar, even though it's a shar, it's not a person, right? But the point is, I think there's like Tach, Misas, Baila, Misas Ashar, there's some connection. In the same way we would treat a person when he's Chayav Misa, we're going to treat the Shar the same way. Therefore, if I need to bring the Shar into Bezdin in order to don this case, I'm not going to do that because there already was a Gemar Din on the Misa. We're going to kill the Shar right away. We no longer have the Shar to bring in, and therefore we can't do the case. But Vamina Luhu Anal, we'll just get to the two dots. But Rava said back, he said, I disagree with this. Because he said, I feel Rabbi Akiva. I can tell you it has nothing to do with Shimon HaTeimani. I can say it's even Rabbi Akiva. I'll give you a simple case. The reason why, if you do the Misa case first, you can no longer do the Mamonis, is because the owner fled. And if the owner fled, you don't have any money. So you can't bring him to court. But the Gemara says, Ibarach. I mean, if that's the Ukimta that you're making, so then you have to make the Ukimta for all the cases, right? So Kilo Danu Din and Nefashos Hechel Danilo Dine Mamonis. If the guy's not here, even if you didn't do the Din and Nefashos case first, how are you ever doing the Dine Mamonis case? Right? Below Bailim. How are you ever doing it if he's not here? Right? So the Gemara says, no, to Kabel Sahadi Ubarach. No, first we had the case and we had Adim and everything. And then when it comes time to pay, the guy fled. So the Gemara says, okay, so Sof Mehecha Mishtalem Miradia. So if he's not here, even if you did the other case first, how are you paying? So the Gemara says, Miradia. You don't need the Baal necessarily to pay because we have a shar, we have a living, healthy shar. We can rent the shar out for plowing. With that money, we will pay the victim. So just to speak this out a little bit, the order matters, right? If we first did the Dine Mamonis case and we were able to have the case and then the owner fled, we can still use the shar to repay the victim. And then once the victim is fully paid, we can have a capital case on the shar, we can kill the shar. But if you did the other order, if you first did the capital case on the shar, then you can never have the Mamonis case without the Baal, because the only way to pay the victim would be with this shar plowing, and that would take some time. And just like we said, Kach Mitzvah Zabayim, Kach Mitzvah Shar. Once there's a Gemar Din on the shar, you need to kill it right away. We're not going to let the shar hang around for another month or two to repay this victim. And that's why the order matters. So the Gemara says, if you're going to tell me this fancy new svara, we can get the payment from the Radya, so then going back to the beginning of the sugya, Ihachi Tam, even if you have a shar Tam who pays Migupo, the Daina Dina Mamonis Beresha, first have a court case on the Mammon, Vinishtali Miradya, and let him plow and use that money to pay off the victim, the Hadr Nadaina, Dina Nefashos, and then have the Dina Nefashos. Meaning, why were we limited? Because we said, oh, we only pay Mikufo, but there's more money. Right, Mikufo means the guf of the shar. Here, we can just have the shar do a little bit of work, and then use that money to pay the victim. But the Gemara says, no, Amar Amari, Bray, Drav Kahana, Zosamaris, Radya, or Radia, I don't know how to say the word, Aliyah Damarahu. That Radya is not considered Migufo. Migufo means the actual value of the animal. Plowing is a form of being Mishalim Minha Aliyah, and therefore this thing only works if you're dealing with a shar Muad, not with a shar. Stop here.